All righty, welcome back. Matt Steinmetz, Darryl, the Guru Johnson with you. And we head to our Tuesday at 1:30 guest, Ross Tucker, 95.7 The Game's NFL and Odyssey Insider. What's going on, Ross? How you doing, man?
I am doing fantastic. I'm assuming you guys are doing pretty well as well after that butt-whooping of the Rams on Sunday. It's actually kind of remarkable that the only time the Rams can beat the Niners was in that NFC Championship game last year. And that still shouldn't even have happened.
I'm with you. No, the 49ers
up 10.
Yeah. Let me just ask you a little bit about, obviously, what you saw from Christian McCaffrey. And then the 49ers also traded Jeff Wilson Jr. Today, which tells me maybe Elijah Mitchell's going to be fine. But, is there a philosophical shift that just happened, kind of, or is that overstating it? 5 years of Kyle Shanahan, they've had a different leading rusher every year. He likes to do it by committee. And now they went out and got Christian McCaffrey, who's going to touch it quite a bit. Is that a drastic change or not so much?
I think it is, Steiny. I think you're onto something there. Now, I think maybe he would argue that he hasn't used the running back that much in the passing game because they haven't had a guy like that. You know, they haven't had a guy that can catch passes like McCaffrey can out of the backfield. But typically that offense has been the back is a runner, and he's a hard-charging zone one-cut guy, and then the ball gets thrown primarily funneled to one receiver and the tight end off of play action. So I do think it's a little bit of a change in philosophy that they bring in McCaffrey and he's utilizing McCaffrey more out of the backfield. I really think, they want to have someone to kind of run the offense through. It feels like wherever Kyle's been, there's been like a focal point, right? Like with the Houston Texans, it was like Andre Johnson, right? They always have a guy, and a lot of what they're doing is trying to figure out how to get the ball to their best guy. And I think in San Francisco, that's been Debo for the most part, but he gets banged up sometimes, and so does McCaffrey. And so now it's like there's a pretty good chance at least one of them will be healthy every game, so they always have someone to run the offense to, if that makes sense.
No, it does, Ross. And I told Steiny I got this fetish, Ross. I like to watch the games back, and I'm watching Jimmy, and all of a sudden I'm not comparing him to Montana, but he found a new toy. He looked in the flat. He had somewhere else to go, and seeing McCaffrey catch the ball, I felt like gave him confidence when he had to throw it downfield. And I hate to do this to you, and I know, it's a bye week, but Ross, do you think the 49ers, it's an automatic now if Jimmy continues to show, hey, I got this, that it's Trey Lance's show next year? Like, I'm starting to think, could Jimmy play his way into the Niners, making a tough decision on, we may not give up on this guy like we thought because now he's better?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I always look at questions like this, and let's take it to the extreme, right? If the Niners go 6-11, Jimmy's gone. If the Niners win the Super Bowl, they're not getting rid of Jimmy. The real question is, if they go to the Super Bowl, are they getting rid of Jimmy?
Yeah.
I don't know. The flip side of that is, Jimmy's going to want a ton of money then. And I wonder what the market will be like for him. And it's just a shame they haven't been able to see more of Lance to know whether or not they feel comfortable moving on at that point. And that would be the end for Kyle. If they went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy, which, by the way, is a possibility. Like, the NFC is winnable, okay? I know people that think the Niners are a real threat. So if they do that, and they go to the Super Bowl, and then they let Jimmy go, and Trey Lance is the quarterback, and Trey's not good, then Kyle's going to get fired sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Ross Tucker joining us here on 95.7 The Game. Let me ask you this. I don't know if I want to ask you the long term, but, Deebo Samuel held out. You paid him this offseason. Now you've got Christian McCaffrey, who's a dual threat. Is there overlap there between Deebo and Christian McCaffrey that everybody can live with?
Yeah, I think so, because I think you can use them in similar ways, but also, they can use McCaffrey a little bit in some of the ways that I don't know if Debo loved that he was getting used at times, because McCaffrey, I don't know that he's quite as explosive as Debo, but he's got some similarities. So I really do think that they're both better off for it, because they're not guys that you want to be giving. Like, even Christian had, 26 touches on Sunday?
Yeah.
I don't know that they want to be doing that every week, right? Like, I feel like ideally Debo's 8 to 10, Christian's 15 to 17. I don't know, with both those guys' injury history, you don't want either one of them getting that many touches. So I think that's part of the beauty of it.
Ross, I was telling Steiny, did the bye come? Obviously we don't play, but did the bye come at a wrong time? You got your new toy, and I'm just like, man, they're hot. Talk us and walk us through what a bye week is like in the NFL, because you've experienced it. Is it just totally get away from the game?
Well, it depends on your coach. It depends on when it is during the year. I can remember one year in Buffalo, we had an early bye. We had practice on Friday. We practiced on Friday, and then, we basically, and we had to be back Sunday night because Monday morning we had meetings. Because we did something with the, skits, and I called it, and the coaches were there, I called it the bye day instead of the bye week. I call it the bye day. Because we drove home Friday to Pennsylvania, God's country, Daryl, by the way, Guru. And I went to my high school game that night. They actually got smoked by Muhlenberg. It was very disappointing. The next day, I went to a Westchester University College game so I could see my best friend's younger brother play and tailgate, which was amazing. And then Sunday, I had to drive back up to Buffalo. I got one full off day. Nowadays, they get a lot more from that.
Ross Tucker joining us on 95.7 The Game. Hey, if I'm putting you on the spot here, I'm seriously sorry, but there were 10 trades made today. And I know that the trade deadline just ended, but do you have a most impactful trade or one that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think the difference maker trade is the Niners getting a 5th-round pick for Jet. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's Bradley Chubb. No, I think Roquan Smith to the Ravens is a good move for them. I kind of like the Vikings getting Hawkinson with Irv Smith out for 8 to 10 weeks. But the move is Bradley Chubb, because I think the Dolphins are one of the 8 best teams in the NFL. Like, they're tier 2 in the AFC. We all know the Chiefs and the Bills are tier 1. But the tier 2 teams that, maybe have a chance would be the Dolphins, the Ravens, and I would say to a lesser extent a little bit the Titans. And so I think it's interesting that the Ravens and the Dolphins more or less made moves, guys, to try to get into tier 1, or at least give themselves a chance in January to make a run and be able to beat the Bills and Chiefs.
What tier do you have the Niners in, Ross?
Tier 2, which is pretty impressive, actually, because tier 1 is the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC by themselves, just the Eagles. And then tier 2 is the Vikings, the Cowboys, and I think the Niners. And now the Niners aren't there record-wise, but if you're asking me who I think is in the next group of teams that is that good, I do put the Niners in the same category as the Cowboys and the Vikings.
Ross, I got to ask you a question, man, and this is non-Niner question, but Sunday I was with my pops. We're watching the Carolina-Atlanta game we had on the Red Zone, and I jumped out my chair when Carolina, a hell of a throw, a hell of a play to Moore, and I'm sitting there like, oh, my gosh, this is going to change their season. You got to make the extra point. But the flag for the helmet off, Ross, I'm not a player, man, but I just hate when you penalize grown men for playing a sport to where you could die if you get hit the wrong way. I'm kind of like, understand the timing and why the helmet came off. What did you make of that flag? And I know the kicker missed 2 kicks, but I just thought that was like, come on, man. The guy was out of the end zone. Did you have to throw it and ruin a moment?
I understand the thought process, Guru. That they got to have that rule, because if you remember, okay, I don't know if it was 10 years ago or whatever, but somebody figured out that a great way to get a lot of FaceTime on TV was to take your helmet off right after you scored a touchdown. And so what ended up happening is guys were doing it every time they scored a touchdown. And you can't have that. Like, you can't have guys taking their helmet off every time they score a touchdown because they want the FaceTime. The real issue isn't the professionals. It's then you see the kids in college do it, and then the high school kids do it. Then you got a Pop Warner kid who takes his helmet off at the 8-yard line because he thinks he's going in for a touchdown. I mean, you just can't have that. Now, the thing I will say about it, DJ Moore was not trying to draw attention to himself. DJ Moore is from Philly. I saw him play in high school. He's never done that before. He knows the rule. He, lost his mind.
Right.
He blacked out because of the moment, and I've done that. I've done that in multiple games where, I was standing up, and I didn't lose consciousness, but I lost consciousness, if that makes sense.
Wow.
I don't even remember what happened because I was in an altered state. That's what happened to DJ Moore. I think it's unfortunate, but ultimately, how about making the kick, bro?
Oh, that's just the worst.
He missed a 32-yarder in overtime, and we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Yeah.
And also, if you're DJ Moore, they should practice, okay? Every touchdown celebration, run over to the sideline and then take your helmet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But he wasn't thinking, man. He lost his mind. I get it.
Their season's over.
Not yet.
That was a blow. If they won that game, Ross, they had action, man.
No, I'm with you. But on the Even Money podcast, I had the Panthers getting 4.5.
Oh, there you go.
Moment for me. Amazing moment for me. Because even after he missed the extra point, I knew I was still going to win the bet and cover. So DJ Moore, listen, he did it. He did all I needed him to do.
There you go.
All right, Ross, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, see you, dude.